A lot of people like to hate on this deck, and I'm not really sure why. It's better than people give it credit for. Hey, Nick from 9 Card TCG, and today we're gonna be playing it's Sablezard, and I know when when Lost Origin first came out, Sablezard was all over the place, and so you might be a little sick of it, but it's still good. I still think it's a pretty solid deck. Is it the best Lost Zone deck that you can possibly build? I'm unsure of that at the moment, but it's a really good one. And if you have the cards, I think you can confidently take this to a tournament and do reasonably well. But all that depends on what you play against, how you play, and sometimes you have to get a little bit lucky with Lost Zone decks that you don't prize or Lost Zone too many important cards. But yeah, that's just what happens. That's Pokemon for you. Before we get into the video, if you haven't already, do me a favor, like, subscribe, comment, all kind of stuff tells YouTube this is a good channel and other people should watch it. Thank you very much to everybody at my locals Illustrious Cards and Games for not only hosting the event, but allowing me to record and put these on YouTube. I wouldn't be able to do this without you, so thank you. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into some gameplay. Alright, game is underway. I get to go first, and I have a Comfy in the active, which is fantastic. Because there's a Giratina in the active for my opponent, I don't necessarily know if I'm playing Arc Tina or Lost Zone Tina, but doesn't really matter. It's not going to change my immediate game plan of using Nest Ball to go ahead and get a second Comfy. I really want to make sure that I can get as many Lost Zone cards in the Lost Zone as I can early. We'll go ahead, play down a Cramorant, and use our first Flower Selecting. Look at the top two cards of your deck, put one of them into your hand, the other goes into the Lost Zone. So, getting cards into the Lost Zone is super important because it allows me to activate effects like the ability on Cramorant. It's going to allow me to use Mirage Gate. Here I go ahead, attach an energy, and retreat into my second Comfy on the bench, where I use Flower Selecting and find a Battle VIP Pass, which is amazing. Battle VIP Pass can only be played on the first turn of the game, so finding it immediately is super important for a lot of these Lost Zone decks. It just helps you get that explosive Pokemon search that you want in a Lost Zone deck. So we find a Comfy and a Manaphy, because I'm not sure if I'm playing against the Lost Zone version. I want to get Manaphy on the field to protect against Radiant Greninja, just in case. It's one of those things that you want to have and not need, rather than not have a need. My opponent starts off, they draw, they have their own Battle VIP Pass after putting a Cramorant on the bench, so now it's immediately apparent that I'm playing against the Lost Zone version of Giratina. And they go ahead and grab a Comfy and a Radiant Greninja. Radiant Greninja is really important to a lot of Lost Zone decks. It puts energies into the discard pile and allows you to draw two cards. It's an incredible consistency piece, plus you are able to attack with it in a lot of Lost Zone decks. They use the ability Concealed Cards to discard an energy card and draw two. From there, a second Comfy comes down. Getting a couple Comfies into play is never a bad thing. It's going to allow them to, again, use those Flower Selectings, put more cards into the Lost Zone, and unlock the same type of cards that my Sablezard deck wants to use. That Cramorant, Mirage Gate, and eventually Sableye. So we want the milestones of 4, 7, and 10 cards in the Lost Zone. Those are the numbers we're looking at. They're going to attach an energy to the Giratina V to use Abyss Seeking. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put 2 of them into your hand, and 2 go into the Lost Zone. You can see my opponent has the Battle VIP Pass in their hand, one of the cards they picked up off of the Abyss Seeking, and that should immediately go into the Lost Zone, because they'll never be able to use it again since it can only be used on the first turn of the game. It's always an easy pick. I go ahead and draw for turn. We use our Flower Selecting. We can use Flower Selecting for each Comfy that we have. Each Comfy, when it goes into the active, can use Flower Selecting. So that's why I want to have multiple in play, especially with the loss of Scoop Up Net, meaning we can't utilize the same Comfy over and over again. We have to get multiple in play. So we go ahead, play Switch Card, get another Comfy out, into the active Flower Selecting. That puts us to 4 cards in the Lost Zone, and we find a Chorus's Experiment. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put 2 of them into the Lost Zone, and 3 go into your hand. So that's going to bring us to 6 in the Lost Zone very, very quickly. It is a pretty good start for us, which means now we're able to get this Cramorant in the active and attack for free using Spit Innocently, thanks to the ability on. So I have, and I want you to, you can see it in my hand, I have double cross switchers already, and that's going to be something that I'm setting up. I can't wait to use those cross switches. It's going to be such a good play, and let me tell you, it does not disappoint. That is a play that I was absolutely stoked about making, and I started to see it a little bit and take form in this early turn. So that's something that you really want to try to do with these Lost Zone decks, is start to map out how you're going to get your prizes. I attach an energy to the Comfey and retreat so that I can go ahead and just hit for 110 damage with the Cramorant. It's really nice to be able to put that kind of early pressure onto a Giratina V, something that I would otherwise struggle to take a KO on. My opponent draws for turn, and they evolve into the Giratina V-Star. And it's moments like this where we are really grateful that we have a Manaphy in play, because really, there's the possibility that after they use this concealed cards on the Greninja, they can Colress, get a couple of Comfeys going. See, there's the Colress. Now they're already at 4 cards into the Lost Zone. They really just need a couple of Comfeys in order to get to 7. And now they're able to attack with the Radiant Greninja. If I didn't have that Manaphy, they could possibly take 2 prizes this turn, which would be absolutely devastating to not only give up 2 prizes in what would otherwise be a single prize deck, but it would really crumble my board. I really still kind of need those Comfeys to be able to not only get cards into the Lost Zone, but then the main way in which I draw and see cards. You really don't play supporters like Professor's Research or other big heavy draw supporters. It's Chorus and Comfeys, and that's about it. So I'm glad that I got the Manaphy as early as I did. Again, was it absolutely needed? No, but you never know. If my opponent had gotten 1 or 2 Comfeys last turn, there's a really strong chance that they could make a Mirage play happen this turn. So, because we don't know what they're going to do, we want to prepare for that. My opponent does attach the energy to the Giratina so they can retreat. They're going to go ahead and put a Comfey into the active and make use of its flower selecting. Here comes a Nest Ball, and Nest Ball is a card that I want to talk about for just a second. It's an item card that lets you search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench. It goes directly from deck to bench. So you don't get to use the ability of things like Lumineon that say when you play this card from your hand to the bench. You also aren't able to play Nest Ball if you have a full bench. Now my opponent should... I think the Manaphy is a little bit of a safety play. I think it was playing too cautiously, because you see the fire energy in my discard, which should alert you to the fact that I am playing Radiant Charizard. If you're playing Radiant Charizard, you don't have the option to play Radiant Greninja, so they probably don't need the Manaphy, but I guess you never know. And they just go ahead and Spit Innocently with their own Cramorant, and they take their first prize. I draw for turn, and we're going to make such an amazing, what I think is a really solid play. We put down that Radiant Charizard, and we got the nice, I forget what set that's from, that really nice Radiant Charizard. I think that's the Crown Zenith Charizard. It looks so good. Charizard has an ability that lets you take, the energy cost is 1 less for each prize card your opponent has taken. So we go ahead and put down the Radiant Charizard, and now we Raihan an energy to it. We discarded an energy to retreat earlier. So now we Raihan attach the energy, search our deck for anything we want. Now we have to make sure that we have enough energies in the deck to make this play work before I fully commit to it. And Raihan's a really good way to search the deck for it. So what I'm looking to do is get a Mirage Gate. Mirage Gate will let you get 2 energies of different types and put them onto one of your Pokemon. You could put them onto your Pokemon in any way you want, really. So we're able to go ahead, get the energies out of the deck with Mirage Gate. So we still need 1 more energy. Charizard attacks for 5 energies, but my opponent has taken a prize card, so now it attacks for 4. Well, we got 1 energy thanks to the Raihan, and we're going to be able to go ahead and we're going to Flower Select first. Now, I don't want to draw into too much stuff, and I kind of want to see maybe if I can attach for turn or whatever, but we're at 7, so I have to Mirage Gate so that I have to get to 7 so I can activate Mirage Gate. Now that I have Mirage Gate, I can search my deck for a Fire Energy and a Psychic Energy and put those onto the Charizard. There's really 2 more pieces to this particular play that I'm making, and my opponent does not see it coming. It was oh god, it was so good. In my hand, I have Magma Basin. So Magma Basin lets you attach an energy from your discard of Fire Energy to one of your bench Fire Pokemon. You take 20 damage in the process, but it's gonna be worth it. So we go ahead, Magma Basin onto that Radiant Charizard, we take 20 damage. Hey, and remember those cross switches that I said pay attention to before? Well, now I can cross switch up my opponent's Giratina V-Star before it ever really becomes a problem and hit it with Combustion Blast, taking a really big 2-prize KO super early. They're never going to get the chance to use that Giratina V-Star. That was such a wonderful play. My opponent draws for turn, and they do have several options. They're going to be able to Flower Select, they're going to be able to use the concealed cards. They can Spit Innocently, but I do want to remind you that Spit Innocently does not take weakness into account, so they can't actually one-shot this Charizard with Cramorant, which is really, really nice. So here comes the first Flower Selecting. They're going to be able to get another Giratina V-Star. One's already in the discard. They have a Giratina V in the Lost Zone, so I don't know how many Giratinas they run, but if that's both of their Giratinas, then it makes sense to put the V-Star into the Lost Zone. They're going to go ahead and concealed cards. Like I said, it's a really good way of seeing some extra stuff. And here comes an Energy Recycler, which lets you get up to 5 basic energies from your discard and shuffle them back into your deck. This is really nice for something like Giratina that doesn't mind discarding a bunch of energies with the Greninja, Attach, Retreat, whatever means they put cards into the discard. And now they're going to be able to use all those energies with things like Mirage Gate. They're going to be able to just keep them in the deck and continue to use things like the concealed cards a little bit longer. My opponent benching a Drapion V, something that you really wouldn't expect to see in a Lost Zone Mirror matchup, but here comes the Attach Retreat into another Comfey, so they can go ahead and Flower Select for the second time. I wanted to shuffle the deck, so you're going to see it doesn't really matter because they didn't draw any cards yet. I don't even think they really saw it. Maybe they saw that it was a Water Energy, but it doesn't matter since we're going to shuffle anyway, and they get 2 cards. They go ahead, I think they got a Water Energy anyway, so really not much to be changed from that. But they did pick up an Escape Rope. They don't want to use the Escape Rope. They really want to make sure that my Charizard gets KO'd this turn. They double Mirage Gate. So that means 4 basic energies are going to make their way onto the board right now. As long as they have a switch card or a switch, again, they do not want to use Escape Rope. They really want to knock out this Charizard. Otherwise, I'm going to use Charizard to knock out that Drapion next turn. Mirage Gate lets you get 2 basic energies of different types. So Mirage Gate 1 gets them a Grass and a Psychic Energy, and the second Mirage Gate is going to get another Grass, and this time it's also going to pick up a Water Energy. I remember explicitly before having to see it. So Drapion has Wild Style as the ability, which means for each Fusion Strike, Rapid Strike, or Single Strike Pokemon your opponent has in play, the attack cost is 1 less. And it's really your Mew counter, honestly. However, in this case, it's a really good... I mean, I shouldn't say it's really good, but it is a way of dealing with this Radiant Charizard. Something that you wouldn't be able to knock out immediately. That Drapion coming in and being 210 health makes it a little bit hard for something like this to get KO'd. Switch card comes down, and now this Drapion that needs 4 energies to attack is going to be able to take a knockout on my Radiant Charizard. However, it comes with a caveat. You have to put 60 damage on one of your Pokemon, and you don't want to put it on the Drapion because that means it's a lot easier for me to KO it. So that means that 60 damage is going to have to get put onto one of those single prize Pokemon. And that's a little bit scary. My opponent choosing the Comfey. So now I get to promote my own Comfey and draw for turn. The Comfey unfortunately for my opponent, was a really poor choice, and you'll see why in a moment. We go ahead, flower selecting, and we're going to go ahead and get rid of a switch card. I think we've used enough of them at this point, and it's a little hard to see exactly how many cards I have in the Lost Zone. Probably, I had 7, so it's probably 8 at this point, if I had to guess. And now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a prize here. It's going to be really nice. I didn't mean, that was the wrong thing. We were talking and I put the wrong card, and I needed to use the switch card. So, even afterwards I forgot. And I switched card into another Comfy, get rid of a Battle VIP pass. So, we're doing pretty good on the Lost Zone at this point. Now, why put in the 6 damage on the Comfy, what being a problem, whether it was a Comfy or the Manaphy, both of those would have been a little bit problematic. And the reason is they have 70 health. Well, they already have 6, and now I could play Flying Entry Hawlucha, which when I put it from my hand to the bench, I put a damage counter on 2 of my opponent's bench Pokemon. So naturally, I'm going to choose the damaged Comfy, which nets me 1 prize, and I'm going to put the other damage counter on something else. It does matter. It will matter later. I want to put it on something that's going to allow me to get an easy KO with Sableye. So I put it onto another Comfy, and I get to take a prize, right away. I don't have to attack, and I get a prize, which is really, really cool. So my thought process now is, okay, I need to just take 3 more prizes, and I need to get another damage counter in play. I can go ahead and get that Comfy knocked out pretty easily, and then I can spread some damage out. Another with Sableye, for example, I go ahead and knock out the Comfy and spread the damage between the Cramorant and the Manaphy. It's going to be the easiest thing to do. I go ahead, I lost Vacuum, I get rid of a Beach Core in order to do it. I don't want to lose the Beach Core, but I don't want them to be able to access it. So we get rid of the Beach Court, and we're just going to go ahead, put down the Sableye with an Energy. We already used 2 Comfies, so now I'm going to be able to take another prize here and set up my win condition, which is putting more damage onto the Manaphy and the Cramorant. We play a Pokegear so we can look at the top 7 cards of our deck and find a supporter. We didn't play a supporter yet this turn, but I just want to make sure before I do play one that I am ready to, I have all the options. If I wanted to play Clara, I can. If I wanted to play Colress, I could. But I want to have the options first before doing something. And I'd rather get something important like that Clara out of the deck before I use Colress, when there's the opportunity for me to have to Lost Zone it, because I just picked up some other really important stuff off of the Colress. So we decide to go with the Clara to put some stuff in hand, and we're going to get some energies, and we only have 2 Pokemon in the discard, and that is the Cramorant and the Radiant Charizard. We're going to go ahead and grab a Fire and a Psychic Energy, as well as the Cramorant and the Radiant Charizard. Those all go into the hand. And I wanted to do that because Lost Zone decks usually don't run any type of disruption, so I could put them in the hand and feel relatively confident in having those Pokemon for next turn. So now I can just go ahead and attack with Sableye. It doesn't really matter what my opponent sends up, because Sableye is able to place damage counters onto the bench. Manaphy's ability, which protects the bench against damage, does not protect the bench against damage counters being placed. So my opponent going ahead, they promote the Cramorant. It's exactly what I expected in the KO. Although personally, I probably would have sent up the Comfy, because then you have a choice of what you want to send up. Instead of sending up something like right now, yeah, sure, you're gonna probably send up the Cramorant anyway, but at least it gives you the option to send up something, but it doesn't really matter too much. So we take a KO on that Comfy, which means I have 6 more damage counters to spread around, and I'm going to do just that. I'm going to put a couple onto the Manaphy, and we'll put the rest onto the Cramorant. So in the end, I put 2 damage counters on the Manaphy and 4 onto the Cramorant. My opponent gets to go. they are going to draw for turn. And the writing is kind of on the wall here. I don't have a lot of prizes left. I only have the 2 because I had to take the last one from that Comfy that I didn't take. And yeah, there's just only a couple of things my opponent can do, but my deck runs 3 Sableye, so there's a real good chance that I'm going to have another one. And in fact, I'm pretty sure I do have another one in hand, plus the Psychic Energy that we just got back with the Clara. So my opponent making the very smart Roxanne play. That's the thing that could possibly save them. I don't know how long it will save them, but it could save them. Now, unfortunately, Roxanning a Lost Zone deck is a little difficult because of things like Comfies, which lets you see a couple more cards, and you know, you have things like Culver's. Really, all I just need 3 cards. I need a Psychic Energy, I need a Sableye, and I need a Switch card. And if I get something like a Clara, then I only need a Switch card because I can get the Psychic Energy and the Sableye out of the discard with Clara. And if my opponent plays an Escape Rope, well, then I can go ahead and just give them a Comfy and it doesn't matter anymore. So they have to be very careful about which type of Switch card they play, if any. And I just need a couple of things. So it's going to be really hard for them to go ahead and attack with the Greninja. They go ahead, concealed cards, they draw a couple extra. It doesn't really matter too much. At best, they have, like, I mean, they don't have many turns, because now my Cramorants can knock out my opponent's Cramorant. I mean, they always could, because they both have 110 health. But they decide to just spit innocently, and they'll take a prize. I get to draw for turn. We're going to go ahead. We got the Sableye. We find a Culver's. So all we need is a Switch card and an Energy. And we still have Comfy to use. We don't care which Switch card we use. We can use an Escape Rope, it doesn't matter, because again, Sableye just puts damage anywhere on the bench. There's the Fog Crystal, lets you search for a basic Psychic Pokemon or a basic Psychic Energy. So we get the basic Psychic Energy. Of course, we go ahead, we attach that basic Psychic Energy to the Sableye, and now all we have to do, we have multiple Switch cards we can use, doesn't really matter which one. We bring up the Sableye into the active, and we can Lost Mine the Cramorant and the Manaphy for exactly 120 damage and take our last 2 prizes. So there you have it, Sablezard taking a really, really solid win. I don't think this is the same shirt I was wearing at the beginning of this video, which just tells you how long it takes me to edit these. So I really hope you enjoyed the gameplay. Let me know your thoughts. Tell me in the comments below if you like the way that this video is structured, or just anything about it. Just leave likes, comments, video, all that kind of stuff tells YouTube this is a good channel and other people should watch it. I want to know what you want to see from me next, but that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.